I'm going to start this off with a quote. It's not a quote by a celebrity, it's a quote said to me by a real person, which is as follows: "In fact, if you weren't so obviously gay, I'd ask you out." End quote. Oh boy. Just so you know, for the purposes of this story, I am not a lesbian. I'm quite straight, as far as I know. Can't blame him for assuming that I am gay, though. By this point, we'd only known each other for 2 weeks and had interacted about 3 times in total, and in that time, we'd never discussed sexuality. You could blame my appearances, of all things. The short hair, the natural look, the slightly masculine clothing. I'm basically the gayest straight you'll ever meet. As much as I am incredibly inexperienced in the relationship department, that statement made it blatantly obvious that he was into me. As he was saying those words, we were about to leave to go to a university lecture. He was avoiding eye contact. He stood up from his chair and was slinging his bag on. He was clearly nervous. In my life, I could count on my hand the amount of crushes I've had. Note the word hand, singular, not plural. That's how foreign I am to anything remotely romantic. Before this moment, if you count it as a romantic advance, I'd only been asked out 3 times in my life. If you don't count primary school, that's twice. I was interested in none of those people, so I respectfully declined them. But boy, did it stress me out hearing those words. "Do you want to go out with me?" Every time I just wanted to either melt into the floor or scream and run away. Anything to get away from that confronting situation. Basically, to put it simply, I'd never had a relationship. I think part of that was fear of the unknown, fear of stepping out of my comfort zone. In high school, I had a reputation. Everyone does, right? I had the reputation of the shy, nice girl who never got into trouble and didn't have a strong enough personality to butt heads with anybody. I was also a bit of a heartbreaker. That sounds a bit self-indulgent, I know, but apparently it was true. Trust me, I did not give myself that title. The excuses I gave when I rejected those 2 lovely guys in high school were, I was new to the school, I was young, I didn't know anyone at all, and he was a friend, I didn't see him that way. Both are perfectly valid excuses. However, even if someone was in that awkward spot between friend and stranger, I would still say no because I didn't know him that well. At this point, you're probably thinking, hold on, if you're not going to go out with a friend, an acquaintance, or a stranger, who are you going to go out with? Good question, my friend. I didn't really have an answer. Recently, though, after I left high school, I finally realized that if I kept that mindset, I would never date anyone at all. So I made a promise to myself to break free from my reputation, and I figured university was the perfect time to do that. So, in that moment, as he made a sort of advance towards me and was getting ready to leave the library, I saw 2 options for myself. Laugh the comment off, which would then tell him that I was indeed gay or not interested, or I say that I wasn't gay, which I knew would lead to the inevitable "do you want to go out with me" question. As much as I feared what choosing that second option might hold, I thought it would be the best way to get rid of my reputation and the mindset that came with that. And by that I mean rid myself of it. "I'm not gay," was my response, and so the journey began. We went on our first date a week later. Admittedly, it wasn't what I expected. Geocaching isn't exactly the word that comes to mind when someone thinks of a first date. 3 days beforehand, I was worrying about what the hell I wanted to wear. I consulted my best friend of 6 years, who is way more stylish than me, and she helped me out. You could also blame people assuming I'm gay on my incredibly close relationship with her. I don't remember a lot of details, but it was an interesting day. We didn't find any of the geocaches, to his dismay, and he didn't shut up about it. But we did find an old water reservoir, which was where a company held performances of underground operas near the old windmill, which is not a sentence I thought I would ever say in my life. Better than dinner and a movie, I guess. I remember as we walked out of the underground opera, we joked how we thought we might get murdered by the guy that invited us down into the reservoir, who turned out to be the manager of the opera company. "My heart is beating so fast," he said. He took my hand and placed it on his chest. As I felt his heartbeat through the fabric, I felt my throat tighten and my own heartbeat quicken. Skin contact. We had not touched hands before that moment. We had lunch at Subway. He paid for his sandwich, I paid for mine. I don't remember much of what we talked about. He has a better memory than me. Most of what I remember of that day was how I felt constantly searching for a topic of conversation, pushing my hair back, straightening my jacket, watching how I walked, keeping my facial expressions reserved and less adamant as to not embarrass myself. I'm sure he was doing the same. It was probably late afternoon that we rode on a bus back to his place. He lived in a share house, which he hated. We chucked our bags on his floor against the bed frame. I took off my jacket and we lay on his bed. He lay next to me, on his side, facing me, while I lay on my back. He was studying my face while I was studying the off-white colour of the roof, the paint chips, the cracks, the swinging of the fan, the small window on the left side of the room, seemingly like no airing. It was a nice roof. I could see him observing me in my peripheral vision. I think he could tell how nervous I was. He reached a timid hand out. Without words, he was asking for permission to touch me. I let him. He slowly and tentatively placed his hand on my stomach, the little gap between the top of my pants and the hem of my tight red shirt. In his own words, months later recalling it, I was like an anxious plank of wood. This is weird, I said, and I didn't just mean the hand on my stomach. I meant, well, everything. I know, he said. A few weeks ago, I was having a pretty bad day for a multitude of reasons I'd rather not get into. We decided to go out for lunch with his housemates and our friends to take a break from stressful university work. When we sat down, he turned to me with a maniacal smile, like he was hiding something. "What the hell did you do?" I said, to which he responded with the same smile. I really was not in the mood for any kind of banter, but he still didn't tell me. "You'll just have to wait and see," he replied. I rolled my eyes and sobbed. Both of our friends looked pretty guilty. They knew what was happening. They weren't going to tell me either. I turned back to him, and I must have looked quite worried because he started giggling. "Babe, come on," I whined. He shook his head, smiling. "Wait and see," he said. I continued sulking, a million different scenarios playing out in my mind. A few minutes later, the waitress came out with 3 meals: a sandwich, a chicken wrap, and a red heart-shaped Lamington. She placed the Lamington in front of him. "Oh my God, I hate you so much," I said with a smile. He laughed the way that he does, loud and bright. He gave me the fork, and I begrudgingly stabbed it into the Lamington and took a bite. As we ate it, I got about halfway through and he said, "You have my heart." Despite my best efforts, that made me chuckle. He's such a hopeless romantic, a dumb, hopeless romantic who loves making puns, and I hate to admit that joke made me laugh. We've been dating for 7 months now. Thank you.